Del cielo, llovieron colores is a collection of short stories just published by the Spanish author P.T.Debonair. What is Del cielo, llovieron colores?
Del cielo, llovieron colores is a short story collection made up of 33 stories about various topics and with a number of characters who basically try to survive as best as they can.
Who is P.T.Debonair and why do you use a pen name?
Well, P.T.Debonair is a university professor, specialist in British and American studies, who decided some months ago that he could say something in the world of fiction. So he wrote a collection of short stories. He was never very keen on using his own name, so he chose a pen name. And the pen name is basically my initials, with the English translation for my own family name, which is Gallardo, which in English means Debonair.
So I understand this is your first work of fiction.
Yes, I have published other things, but it's basically academic materials, but this is my first incursion to the field of fiction.
Okay. What led you to use the short story genre as a means of literary expression?
Basically two things. I mean, first of all, the fact that I don't think I'm really prepared. I need more time and probably more courage to face a full-length novel. And secondly, the fact that there doesn't seem to be a very powerful tradition in Spanish for short stories. So I understood that, I took that as a challenge, and that's why I decided to start with short stories rather than a full-length novel.
The collection has 33 stories. Any reason for that number?
Not really. Originally, there were meant to be 25. Eventually, I kept writing and writing, so I decided to stop at 33. I thought the number was just mysterious, cryptic enough, suggestive, and also euphonic, so I decided to stop with 33.
And what are the stories about?
The stories about many things. They're just as varied as the age of the main characters, which range from adolescence to the very end of your life. There are stories about nostalgia, love, frustration, vital anguish, fidelity, loneliness, jealousy, a bit of everything really.
Should the stories be read in order?
Not necessarily. I am convinced that depends on the reader. I mean, some readers feel much more attracted by a specific title, by a specific word, and therefore that leads to pick up that story immediately, where others are more methodical and they prefer to just follow the table of contents one by one, almost in a chronological way. I mean, that really depends on each reader.
Okay. Let's imagine I don't wish to read the stories in order. Where should I start?
I am not sure I can help you with that. Again, all I can suggest is that you look at the table of contents and you look at the words. And if you fancy one word in particular, go for it. I mean, I'm sure that will be much more rewarding than what I can tell you.
Who are the characters? Do they actually exist?
I cannot deny that I've always been fascinated by observation, so I like observing people around me, situations, everyday situations, and also things. I mean, trying to find spots that normally are ignored. But I wouldn't say that there is a one-to-one correspondence between my characters, my situations, and real-life characters or situations.
Please, choose one of your characters and tell me why.
That's a tricky question. It's if you ask a mother or father to tell me the name of your favorite son or daughter, and that's not fair, really. Simply because, I mean, we love children differently, depending on many factors, emotional responses or their own personalities. So I would say I have exactly the same problem with my characters and with my stories. I mean, every time I look at them, they look back at me and they tell me something different, so it wouldn't be fair for me to say, no, I prefer this one, I prefer that one. I mean, I love them all just the same, but in different ways.
I understand. Some of your female readers have said that you seem to understand a female idiosyncrasy very well. Would you say this is a short story collection for women?
Not really. Actually, I don't think that's a very positive approach to the collection. I'm not sure that's the right approach, really. Although it is true that some readers, some female readers, have told me that they could empathize very easily with some of my characters. That does not necessarily mean that my stories were meant for female readership. Actually, if I had tried to do that, the stories would be very limited, and I hope they're not.
That's clear. Let me insist on this point. What should male and female readers expect from your stories?
Well, let me insist on my reply as well. I am convinced that's not the right approach. I mean, there are many other factors. When you think about one reader, you have to keep in mind many other factors. I mean, upbringing, cultural background, religion, sexual orientation. There are so many factors involved, but if we try to reduce our response to the fact that we are a man or a woman, without even considering our sexual orientation, I mean, that's just so poor that I don't think that's the right approach. I mean, what we need to do, what we should do, I think, is that we should approach the stories and the characters as they are, and we should have the courage to face our own philias and phobias and face them and see if we can see ourselves there, or if we can detach ourselves and see what they look like from distance.
Do you have plans to write more stories?
Well, actually, I have some more stories written already, and eventually I could have another collection, but I'm not really sure they will be published.
We have already talked about characters, but what about the topics? Where do you get them? Do you have any preferences?
Well, as I said before, I have some topics which have always fascinated me. The Shakespearean notion of the world as a stage is always in back of my mind. I mean, all the world's a stage, and my characters are poor devils that keep, trying to survive in the ocean of life.
Del cielo llovieron colores is the title of one of the stories. Would you admit this one is your favorite?
Well, Del cielo llovieron colores is a beautiful title, if I may say so. I love it, but that doesn't mean that that story is my favorite. And even if it were, I would never tell you because it wouldn't be fair to the others.
Thank you very much, and good luck.
You're welcome.